Good morning. Happy Saturday. I will be releasing this on Saturday because I am moving tomorrow. So, getting this out the way. Why do you see this up here? Well, if you haven't heard or maybe been busy this last week, the Strat founder and creator, Rob Smith, passed away earlier this week. And I just wanted to hear this one good time.
Weekend vid, and I pulled back on vids for a while, and I can't.
I gotta get it right because I need to hear. Hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rob Smith, the Smiths in the Black with the weekend vid, and
That,
I pulled back on vids for a while,
that.
and you know,
So, Rob definitely hadn't made videos since April. I used to watch these weekly videos on a regular basis, sometimes the daily videos. Even knowing the strat, I still watched him. First of all, you just know that YouTube was paying him to watch, for you to watch. And then also, just to get the actual founder's view to see if that was the same thing that I saw on the charts. So it was very helpful. At first, I couldn't, I didn't understand what he was saying, and then you get used to it. You can really understand it. So rest in power, Rob Smith. We really will miss you, and we appreciate you. I know that you changed my trading game, which changed my life basically. So that it simplified these charts for me and I was able to pay it forward. So, very, very sad that you are gone. All right, so let us get into this week's video. So, of course, we're going to start with, the data that we have. Next week, we have like a lot of PMI data dropping. So you got Chicago PMI on Monday, and then on Tuesday you have the ISM manufacturing PMI, jobs opening. Then Wednesday, I don't think, oh, it's this mortgage information, but I don't think this is ADP employment change. I don't necessarily think this is going to really affect much. However, we do know that Powell did say, of course, that he was going to be data dependent. So that's why I'm mentioning this. Thursday, we have our usual jobless claims, but then we also have the Challenger job cuts, ISM services PMI, and then on Friday, we have non farm payrolls. So, a lot of data that can definitely swing us a lot next week and make for some crazy moves in the market. So, we'll just kind of have to see what it gives us. All right, so let's get into these charts. So, of course, we're going to start with the VIX as usual. And I just want to point out something. The VIX is still in this range here. Now, I do see a head and shoulders here on the week and on the day, but we can see that it has found some support here around this $13 level. I just drew this line right here because I want you to see the downtrend that it's in. I mean, even if it breaks a short-term downtrend, it's still even in a longer-term downtrend. So just understand that it's doing that. It's not really giving any signs that it's reversing just yet, meaning that the market could definitely stay green for longer unless you see it break and hold above this line. So for me, it would need to really break and hold above about 1650 and hold there for me to think there's some type of reversal, and then I'm going to expect it to reject the 200 like it's been doing. So just keep that in mind. We do have a somewhat solid support here at 1281, but it can definitely still drop to about $12 if it does like this 3-2 down. We have all that data next week, but then also remember we have Apple and Amazon earnings. You know that Apple earnings can definitely move the market just like Microsoft. So we'll just kind of have to see what it does. But the VIX is kind of set up here where it can go either way because we do have a base that's been made here, and we do have a head and shoulders where it can die. But if Apple dies for some reason, then it can definitely 3-2 up. It closed closer to the low, so it's looking more like a 3-2 down or even a 3 inside week. But yeah, if Apple were to drastically die, it could definitely 3-2 reversal. But even looking at it on the day, you can see this shoulder area that we're in. There's the head where it popped up for a little bit, and now we're still in the same shoulder area. So it really would need to break out of there and break above there to have any sense that it's reversing. Otherwise, it's still in this downtrend. But right now, we're stuck in this little range right here. Looking at the dollar, it actually had a decent week. It did a 212 up, and then it rejected right here. So no actionable setup here. Nasdaq has a hammer, so Rob would say hammer counter shooter, because we had that shooter here and we barely took out last week's low and reversed, and then we reversed more than halfway of the previous candle. So, this was a setup for an outside week, but we didn't finish. So it's interesting to see if we do finish next week. That's going to be our target, that 15,932 on the NASDAQ. Otherwise, we may have an inside week if we don't. But, I mean, this isn't really a hammer, but we definitely ended strong and held supports. So, and being the fact that we barely took out the last week low, does mean something. So, oh, and looking at it on the day, I really don't think I have to keep doing this because a lot of the things are still above their 200 on the day. There is something that I'm going to point out in a little bit, though, when we get to SPY. So the Dow is also having a good week, or also had a decent week, although this isn't really a shooter. It just came back in about halfway through the move and is now really sitting on a support. So this inverted head and shoulders did play out. You got a larger one here. This is the head, and then this is the shoulder. And then this smaller one here, shoulder, head, shoulder, boom. All right, so it can still go if it wants to. It has taken out this swing high and it came back in, but if it continues, then we're looking for 358, 365, 369 to the upside. Otherwise, it could possibly two up, two down, but it would need to break this 352.23. So that's not too far from where it is. But if it did, 3-2 up, down, and correct at least down to these EMAs. IWM didn't really do too much last week, but did stay green. So looking to see it take out this 199-ish, almost 200, and then possibly this 202 if it can continue. It's pretty strong. This is another one thing I want you to notice, that if we did have some type of strong reversal, you will see some of these have PMGs on the week. So be wary of that. I always want to point them out. Even if we don't turn, there are some PMGs on the week, but there's plenty of room to the upside if it wants to continue. So another thing I wanted to point out was that we are at the end of the month now. We have one more month left, which is on Monday. One more month left. One more day in the month left for Monday. And then the new month will start. I'll look at the monthly setups next week, just because this week, because we still have one more day and we don't know how it can go, don't really want to look at the monthly things. So we're just going to kind of see how they're setting up on the week right now, and show you these weeklies. And then, we'll start looking at them once they come in. But I can tell you a lot of these monthlies are just green 2 ups. So I did kind of briefly look to see if there were mini setups, and a lot of them are just green 2 ups. So green 2 up continuations. As long as we have time frame continuity on our side, remember what you want to look for is that reversal back into full time frame continuity. All right, so even this is pointing out that you do have a PMG, but you would really need to see that solid reversal before you play that. And then remember, it's on the weekly time frame, so you don't want to, you want to give yourself time, like plenty of time for it to play out. But you need that solid reversal first, and we don't have it just yet. So keep that in mind. Look in here, a lot of these on the day, you're going to see that there are so many inside days and so many 3-1 setups basically. A lot of the major indices did that huge bearish engulfing 3 bar on Thursday, took out stops, gapped up the next day, but then stayed inside that previous day. Some things ended strong, like Q's we'll see in a minute, and some things just ended like right in the middle. So Monday may be a good 3-1-2 in whichever direction that it decides. It could do something like a 3-1-2 and then outside that three, because threes a lot of times do happen after inside bars. Once they take out one side, if it doesn't continue, they'll go to take out the other side. It's really easy for this to happen with this small bar here. So Monday may be definitely be interesting, but you're going to see this a lot on a lot of these charts coming up. The Qs look like NASDAQ. You have this strong finish for the week where it finished more than 50%, but didn't quite outside week. So you could look to see if it finishes that the next week. And then, again, like I said, well, this didn't have the 3, but it had the 2-1. And basically, this finished very strongly. So if this can break 384.62, we can see 388. And then it may just continue. This could really depend on Apple and Amazon earnings. You see that it found this solid support here at this 375. Like, it's just kind of like SPY with the 453 and the 455. It's finding support there. And then even after this strong move, it boomed right back up. So, and it's interesting, even though that strong move on Thursday took out some lows, if it had not done that, these would have all just been inside weeks, honestly, which is basically a resting period. If you notice, we boomed there, this was the correction, and then it needed a little more correction, boom, and then the bulls stepped back in, kind of as expected. Same thing with SPY. Now SPY has you can kind of see it here, 1, 2, it's barely 3, 4, 5. Didn't pick it up here, and maybe because maybe my eyes are saying these are different and they're the same, but it's a possible PMG here. But one thing I want to point out, even if it did come and take down all of these and PMG down to this 430, if you look at SPY on the day, that would still be right here above our 200. It would just be possibly the correction that would be needed. It would be something like maybe even this correction. You see this boom, corrected, and then it kept going. So if we do correct down, we do have a potential PMG that would still keep us bullish for the most part, because we are still above this 200. SPY has a somewhat hammer on the day, and that 3-1. So I'm still looking to see for this next swing high, which is over here at 463. We had 457, 458 was our first target. We hit that last week. So now the next swing high that they could be looking for is this 462, 463 area. And then we do still have all-time highs you can take out. How can we do that? Things like Apple. Apple got a $220 price target upgrade, 230. A lot of things that would make you think, okay, well, I know Apple's at all-time highs, but can it go more? Yes, it can. Think about Microsoft. Microsoft all-time high was 349. After its earnings, it boomed another $15. It came right back in, but it's still pushed. So the whole point I'm making here is that even though Apple is at all-time highs, if it wanted to run to 215, 220 based on a good earnings, it can definitely do that. Pull a Microsoft and maybe create this here. Now Microsoft is looking like, to me, that it's creating a head, and this entire area could be the shoulder. But however, it also could have just boomed, came back and corrected more, and it could go right back to the all-time high. So remember though that when we are at stages like this where we haven't reached them yet, you would want psychological targets. So psychologically, next I'm looking for about 200, and then I'm gonna look for 205, 210, 215, 220, etc. So you got Apple coming up for earnings. You got Amazon coming up for earnings. Amazon just had Prime Day. I'm not sure, quite sure if they will report that. I believe that was in July, so they may not report that, but still, there's plenty of room for Amazon to go. Amazon is not on one of those I've hit all time high lists. And not just that, other stocks do still have more room. I think it was Meta. I was looking, not Meta, JPM. JPM still has more room. Google already reported earnings, but and it just filled this little weekly gap here. But if it still wants to go, the next swing high is about 144, so that could still go. And I did say, yeah, JPM. Netflix could still, so these things could still push the Qs. And so if you're saying, okay, well, the Qs are close to all-time highs, where can it go after that? It can continue to push to psychological targets due to the rest of these being so beat down and having so much room. So seeing SPY to 500 is not unlikely. I mean, it could. Now, it's not going to go in a straight up path like that. We know that. But the top of this broadening formation is 500. Even if it did something like PMG all the way down to that 430, like we said, and then did that, like, it can still, no, we're not, that's not going to do that for, we're talking about this doing this by earnings, no. But, I mean, I'm just saying, that's still, the way it's looking bullish, it can definitely still go. So if the rest of these indices move it, that's what I'm saying, is that we can, that's when we can see them go for this. I think that this 480 here would be the strongest resistance to get through. I think it would probably be something like how 400 was a magnet for a while. And then once it pushes past that, then you can see it going for the 500. But it may do a repeat of something like Microsoft where it hits the 480 and it's like, oh, all right, I need to rest for a little while. May even come down a little bit more, take these folks out before continuing back up to the upside. So just keep that in mind. Those are kind of your either or scenarios on how these can move and what to look for. So normally I do the sectors. I haven't done the sectors because I also didn't want to take up a whole lot of time. These videos were like an hour long each time, and that was getting to be ridiculous. But a lot of these look the same on the week. All two ups on the week except XLY. So keep XLY in your eyes because it did TTO in reverse. XLK, of course, with let me take this off. We were just looking at technology, so it kind of looks like that. You know, you got your hammer countering your shooter. And then XLF maybe has an evening star here on the week. So I would keep financials on your watch list, because if this does a 2 up, 2 down, even just for this correction, that may be a decent move. So watch your banks for a reversal. And I believe that was it. Yeah, that was it. Because the rest of them actually look like this. All right, so I don't have a monthly, of course, like I said, but we do have a new 2-week bar also starting on Monday, and there were not that many setups. I can go ahead and tell you that now. NVIDIA does have a possible setup. Now, this is a doji, so it's not really much, but if the market is green and it breaks above, I'm first looking for that 481, and then it could possibly go, then you're looking for your psychological targets, because remember that 481 is going to be your 52 week high. So if it pushes past that, then you're going to look for your 485, 490, etc. Starbucks. So Starbucks is another one. We have been watching this because on the quarter it looks like it wanted to 3-2 down. Now, it just took them out and it came back in. However, when you look at it, it cannot break over 102 to save its life. It had this double inside week where it just struggled at that level. TTO that way, came back up and still rejected this 102. So if this does a 2 up, 2 down on the 2 week, and it at least gets to that target, is going to trigger the quarter again, and this time it might actually lose it. So this 2 up, 2 down, 2 week can trigger the quarter down. Got your head and shoulders here. Okay. And then last but not least, the weekly list, what I have for the week. So your hammers, shooters, and reversals. Net has a hammer counter shooter. It's not green, and it's not a strong hammer. It's more of a gravestone, not gravestone, Morningstar doji, but it's not quite a doji. It's just the same thing here where it could two up, back up to the 76.12, which is a $10 move. So keep net in your on your watch list. TTWO kind of looks like the Qs where it had that TTO and came back in, so it could possibly 2 up here. Shop, you have a possible rev strat here on the week. Y'all know I love rev strats because they're stronger moves generally if they play out. So if this does break above this 67.83, it can get to that 71.48. Nvidia, we already know, is on our 2-week inside bar list, but this rev strat can be on the weekly, can be what triggers it. So you got your 1-2 down, 2 up rev strat that can trigger that 2-week move. Crypto also has rev strats on the week. So if crypto decides to make a move next week, that could be a pretty strong move. Then you have Apple. There's the only 3 inside weeks that I decently liked was Apple, because we want to watch Apple because it has earnings next week. Not necessarily going to be a play because you know it's going to be more expensive, but it does have earnings, so you want to watch it. TSM also has an inside week. If it can be a stronger move to break out of this range, that'll be great. Square has been holding up, and it also has a inside, not quite hammer, but strong close. So really looking to see if it can break this 81, but look at how these EMAs are turning. So Square is looking like it's finally ready to bust a move to the upside. I would like to also notice that Square has finally broken above its 200 and held, you guys. Like, that's kind of serious. It hasn't done that in, look, I'm not going to even keep scrolling. That's how long it's been. Last time it was above it here, it lasted probably a week and died. Now it's holding. So as long as it's holding to the point where now you got your 8 and your 20 that have crossed above. So if this 50 can also get above, that will be a very strong signal. You got your inside doji on the day. So if it can push above and really move to the upside, Square may be making a return. Now keep in mind, Square also has earnings on Thursday. So that's something that you want to keep be wary of. It may be a play for afterwards to see how it does. It could pull a Roku. Because Roku, if I'm not mistaken, looked similar. Yep, it had broken above its 200, was trying to hold. They faked them out right there, and then boom. Not to say the Square is going to do this, but I mean, Roku had also been beaten down and not above its 200. So, and then if you look at it, honestly, this was earnings, the day of earnings. It was a better play the next day. So watch Square to see if it does this Roku repeat, whichever direction it chooses, honestly, because, you know, it could do the opposite. It could boom the day of earnings and then die the next day. Either way, I think that's a good, Square is a good play. And then we still have these quarter triggers that we're keeping our eyes on. Home Depot has been wonderful. If ooh, Lord, y'all, I just saw a spider. Sorry. Home Depot has been wonderful. If you caught it, MS is struggling a little bit. It's actually right back at that quarter trigger. Ah, just jump it. Oh, there you go, mother. Okay, I got the spider. Okay, so MS has come back in. Have to see if it has the strength to continue. If it does, we're still looking for that 193. I believe that I had fibbed it on the day when it came in. No, on the week. No, this is a daily fib. Either way, on the week, it does have a 2-up reversal. So this must have been on the day, y'all. Hold on. I was playing. It was. It was. I had it fibbed on the day. So you see this, Kiki would call this a fish hook. So I was looking to see if it would, where it would find any support at. It busted through that 23 to 38. So I'm looking to see if it's going to hold the 50 or even the 61.8. We're still above our 200. Remember, I also mentioned to y'all that XLF had that possible evening star on the week. So if XLF does fall, MS will be a decent one where it just took out the quarter trigger, but it came back in. So we would play it back to the downside, or at least down to this correction. 88.57 it could possibly make it to, which would be a little bit below this 61.8. Consequently, it could find support here at this 90.57. So MS would be one I would watch for the XLF move. Cat is almost done. Well, basically that's done. Let's move that one. COP is another one. This is doing really well on the quarter. It's probably like a little sleeping giant. Look at that. Look at how it's respecting this 8, but then it's been green. Has a little correction. Now you got your 2 down. You had your TTO, and it may continue right back on up. So we do have a gap here that is probably headed for this 123.77. Which I think is not, oh yeah, that's a little below the quarter target. So this could actually be, it'd be nice if it moved a little bit more sideways here and then boomed again to give people entry. And then Roku, we were just talking about Roku, but Roku has also triggered the quarter. It's a little far gone now. We'll wait for some correction, but it still has probably another $10 to go on its if it wants to continue to move. And if it does like a 3-2 up, then it can definitely do that. So that's all I have for you guys this weekend. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I will see you guys next week. Happy trading. Thanks for watching.